Hey Addicts, welcome back. We are here for episode 7 of Invincible. This is the second to the last episode that we'll have for season 1. Unfortunately, Michael's not going to be here for this episode. He was able to watch it with me, but he had to take off early, which I'm kind of bummed because this was a very good episode. There is some downsides to it, but overall, really enjoyable episode, so we'll break that down. But yeah, he will be back for the season finale, so don't worry about that. You'll be able to get his thoughts and opinions there. But let's just dive into this. So I'm going to go over kind of the more minor stuff and maybe some of the negatives before we get into the dope stuff. Okay, so we have Mark and Amber, which is we get the everything coming to a head with that. It's the thing that's leading off of the main thing that we got in the last episode, right? With kind of the relationship deteriorating between Amber and Mark, and then also having that sort of tension between William and Mark as well. And I don't know, I was okay with where it was going. I was still kind of frustrated, as I think a lot of people probably were with those two characters, and especially as big a focus as they were having in the episode runtime in episodes past. But I think I really just solidified me disliking the whole thing in this episode, because you have some choices made that just didn't really make much sense. I do kind of the desperation attempt of Mark kind of revealing a secret identity. I think it was kind of weird to have that, especially since we didn't have that in the comic, and I did think it added a nice maturity to Mark, and knowing that there's some things that he's not going to get, or he's going to have to trade with his superhero life, because he's invincible. And in this, you do have kind of the opposite of that, with him as a last bit attempt to save his relationship with Amber, telling her about that he's invincible. But the worst thing about it is that Amber actually is yeah, I knew all along, and I also still hate you, kind of a deal. And I was what? Both me and Michael were that doesn't make any sense at all. And the reasoning behind it was just all I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it was just one thing that I was why did they do that? Because it was so great in the comic, I thought. And I understand why they did it, but just to try to make Amber seem more smart or more capable of a character. But I don't really think she needed to be that character. Her character didn't need to have that edge to her, so I don't know. But that was kind of lame, in my opinion. And then you also do have a nice scene with Mark and William. We don't get William a lot, which is fine because he's not a core character necessarily. But I do like how they handle his character in the show. I think having that kind of consoling moment with Mark and just trying to tell him facts how they are straight, I like that side of it. And also they do write his character to be really funny in the show, so I appreciate the scenes I see William in. There's also a banger scene with William seeing Nolan later in the episode that I thought was awesome. The performance that both those characters have in that moment is oof, tension was thick. But you also do have Eve and Mark kind of getting together, not in a romantic sense, but just meeting back up and having a friendly talk with one another, because I think Mark's at this point just looking for advice and somebody to vent to, kind of like how Eve did when she broke up with Rex. And then you also have another relationship going on with Debbie and Nolan, and again, this is one that I've been back and forth in the episode discussions, because Debbie is a bit more of an investigator in the show, and she does kind of piece things together, and I think it works well between the show and the comic. I like both ways that it kind of tackles it. I do think it feels a little off or just kind of weird at times, especially when you kind of consider why is Debbie so confrontational when she seemingly thinks Nolan's evil to the core, or she's having those thoughts about him. Why would you be so confrontational when he could just snap her like a toothpick? I get it though. because of the relationship past, like they expect you like, oh, he wouldn't do that, or she wouldn't expect him to do that since she's known him for so long. But I don't know. It's like you can't have the best of both, where like you have a character that is like supposed to like love them and never expected anything like this from their significant other, but also still like believing that they're able to commit such atrocities and writing them off as like somebody that you need to stay away from. You also have the problem of like why didn't Debbie try to warn Mark like the actual night that she had the confrontation, or she figured out that he was the murderer? I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like there's some finer details that start to lose the solidity of like the structure when you really start looking at it the way they remixed it. Again, not disapproving of like the direction, more so how it was executed. I think it was a little bit, sloppy in that remark. But you do also have on Nolan's side, there is some scenes that I really did appreciate. Comic readers will probably know one in particular where Nolan is kind of having this heart-to-heart moment with Mark in his head. But, the way it's like framed, it looks like it's like the actual conversation. And I like that. I think it's a little moment that, you can kind of see more of a genuine side and like kind of the maybe starting to see like the true intentions, or kind of like you get to see that there's more going on to what face value appears, with regards of like why Nolan did it, what's his true motives, stuff of that nature. And I think they do enough of it that it still helps. I think it was still a little like there could have been a little bit more there, but I think it was okay. It was good. Like I said, I appreciate those scenes that they added before we get to the main thing of what leaves us off in this episode. Quickly, I do want to mention Robot and the Muller twins. You do get to see what Robot has been scheming, behind the scenes throughout the earlier episodes, and I really do like that. They remixed it because this happens a lot later in the comic, if I am remembering correctly. So it is it's like a welcome one, because it's like, ooh, that'll open some new possibilities and stuff like that we might see for the next season. But it is kind of, I don't know, it's just different, and I'm willing to see where they do it for the show. And I do think that is another great side to get a payoff at the end of the season, because there was like a lot of little seeds, and I think this episode really does bring some of those all together, so you get a really nice payoff, just like I said before. You also do have, like I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, I don't know, I was thinking in my head, but you do have kind of the bulk of the episode, like Nolan trying to get to Mark to talk to him and try to explain everything, because it didn't really go so hot with Debbie, but because of the things they did with her, like there wasn't much of a chance for her to really hear him out, or at least it's seemingly that Nolan doesn't really want to open up with Debbie, but he's willing to open up with Mark, so he's trying to get to him. And I do like the remix of this. It's done a lot more swiftly in the comic, and I think there is an extra level of enjoyment that you see it more dragged out, like it is in the show. I think maybe it's more enjoyable in the sense that, like, because the fights are animated, and because you do have like the performance of the voice actors too, it just adds that. But I will say it also does give an extra level of intensity, or just kind of like the edge of your seat type moments, because Cecil and the government, and I guess just the world in general, right, is, I guess mostly like the US government, is like throwing things at Nolan to try to slow him down so that they can figure out if Mark is friend or foe, and if they can like really trust or like lean on Mark. Which I know that's not like the main goal, but that's just like one of them, right? So I do love seeing the extra remixes, like, having the laser from the satellite, or having the monster, which they teased that in one of the earlier episodes. So it was cool to see some of that stuff return, and even the reanimated soldiers, which I thought that was cool, because as far as I can remember in the comic, Nolan never went up against those reanimated soldiers at any point of the comic. So it's kind of cool to see kind of, like almost like a fantasy matchup, So I think because we already got that episode earlier, it wasn't, out of the realm of possibility to have that show up in this one of the final episodes of the season. So really did like that. You do have the Immortal coming back, which I don't know. It's like one of those things, like you blink and you miss it, maybe, or maybe you're not necessarily putting it together, but you do kind of see sort of like a flashback sequence that kind of gives you like teases of what like the backstory of Immortal is while he's being revived, which I like I said, favorite superhero that was Abraham Lincoln. Although Omni-Man's still the best, and that is proof with the fight you see with them, and I do really like that as a bookend to the episode. I think I was looking at Michael when we were watching. I was like, "Hey, you think it's going to end with like Mark? We need to talk." And we're like, "Sure enough, that's where we get it." And I think that'll lead to a bombing season finale. I'm actually really interested to see what all they're going to compact into the final episode, though, because there is going to be some big shakeups, obviously, where we left off in this episode. We're going to get to see the full extent of that play out in the next episode, and I think we'll spend a good part of the episode on that, and I think it should be really good. I think the fights have been living up to what they have been in the comics so far, at least on like just how they dragged out they animate it, which is a good thing. Maybe some people will misconstrue that, but it is I like it when they extend the fight scenes a lot, and because Invincible has such amazing one-on-ones or like battle type verses, I do like to I did like the moments in this episode, and I'm excited to see what's in the next episode. But after we get past that conflict, I am curious to see where they'll leave it off. I think we might see Mark going back to school, and maybe a little bit of interjection on Eve and William too, with Mark having to live with some consequences. But I can't wait to see the next episode. I think this one, episode 7, was I would say it's probably going to be in the top 3 episodes, maybe top 4. It's like one of those that I think there was another episode, I can't remember, I don't think it was episode 6, it was I think episode 5 maybe, when we had Titan in there. That was a great one, but I think this one beat it, because like Omni-Man's my favorite character out of the Invincible franchise, and obviously Mark is a beast of a main protagonist, so seeing more of them, especially sharing the screen, and with the voice talent, especially that's attached to those characters, I'm eating it up as a fan of the comic and the show. So really excited to see, the next episode and In Doubt. I don't think we have any information on when the release is for season 2, but we will be keeping track of that, because I can imagine that they're going to want that to come out not too long after this one ends. But I guess that's it, guys. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and if you're excited for the season finale. If you are only a show watcher, what do you think is going to happen? I'm curious to see people that do not know the source material at all, what they think direction this series is going to go, especially since this is so early into the story. Because keep in mind, this is like probably not even a full... it's tricky. I think we might be at like... We take bits and pieces, right, of certain volumes. So I think technically we've seen bits of like volume 3, and there's like 180 some, 90 some issues. So put your thoughts down in the comment box. Be sure to give this video. I don't know why I'm asking that. We never ask that here. So you guys just do what you feel like doing. We'll see you guys next week, and as always, peace, addicts.